Today we have African sumac. This is the other half of a piece I turned about 3 years ago. This comes to us from my good friend Tuffy Marginez. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, as we like to say here at Shady Acres Woodshop. Howdy, let's take a closer look at it. The piece is about 7.5 by 9 by about 4.5 on that end, about not quite 4 inches on this end. I took a look at the video I did 3 years ago, the other half of this, and I can't believe I did that one. The way I did it, it's a nice looking bowl, but it's not my typical kind of bowl. It's very rounded on the side, and then it's undercut on the inside. It's nice looking. This one's not going to be that way, but this one's going to be nice looking anyway. It's okay. I'll link to that other video. You can watch that if you want. At that time, I had looked up this African sumac because I never heard of it. It said it was poisonous. All parts of the tree were poisonous. Well, I lived through that one, so I guess I'll live through this one. You just can't trust everything you see on the internet. Anyway, that's what it looks like. So what I'm going to do is take this over here to the drill press, cut a large flat bottom hole in the middle for my chuck jaws to set against. In the middle of that, I'll drill a hole for my woodworm screw. We'll get it mounted up on the lathe and get to turning. Well, here's what I've done. I used a Forstner bit to drill a large flat spot for my chuck jaws to set against. In the middle of that, I drilled a hole for my woodworm screw, and we'll get this mounted up. Piece of wood is really quite heavy, and I know it's not wet. Like I said, I've had it for 3 years, so I'm surprised how heavy it is. Guess we better bring up the tailstock first. And I like to spin the piece up and let the live center find its own hole there. It's a little thing, but it means a lot. And I'm going to be working from the top side down, trying to keep the bark on. I've already repaired it here, and a little bit on the top. When I drilled my hole, some bark fell off on the top, so I fixed that. So I'll be going this way rather than coming this way and lifting the bark off. I don't know that it's going to help. I kind of remember that the first piece of this I turned, I had some trouble with the bark, so we'll see how it goes. I don't know how fast we're going to be turning. Let's find out. About 570 RPM, 5/8 inch bowl gouge, mask, and face shield on. Tough wood. I don't remember that part. I'm gonna go sharpen up. I'm really pushing hard. I gotta go sharpen again. Just trying to get rid of these two flat spots. Oh, that one's gone. A little bit left here, a little higher. think we just lost some more bark, dang it. Definitely lost a big old chunk there. Right here. I know you probably can't see it. Still missing a piece somewhere. Well, we got our square ends gone. Actually looks pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty sandable. I'm gonna come down here to the bottom, flatten it off, and lay out for a tenon. Oh, it's a knot. I was wondering what was hammering back at me. Need to raise my tool rest a bit and use this diamond point tool, which is a lot thinner than my gouge. That's why I got to raise the tool rest. So I'm going to use that to square up the sides of the tenon. And that's good. I'm going to use this 3/8 inch gouge to get in there a little closer. Okay, now we can come back over here to the side and finish up our profile. Take this base down. It doesn't need to be that thick. That's better, huh? Okay, that'll do. Time for sanding. I'm starting at 80 grit, working up through 400 grit. I'm not sure of the finish we're going to put on there just yet, but I'll bring you back when it's time to do just that. See you in a bit. I decided on feed and wax for this piece. And the reason is because it's so soft, so smooth, and the feed and wax will really bring that out. And it's such a dramatic difference to me. I know you can't tell, but this was a very hard, rough kind of piece of wood. I don't know how many times I sharpened, 4 or 5, but I think I'm going to do something a little bit different on the top side of this for the first time in my life. I think I'm going to use shellac on the bark. I think, not certain. I need to see what that's like also after I fix it, replace the missing bark, and then sand it, see what that feels like. But it'll be this on the inside and the outside both, but the bark might have shellac. And that's because I can't quite determine how coarse the bark is until I sand it. I didn't want to sand it before I fix it, because then the pieces that I have might not fit perfectly. Also, a reason for this is I went and took a look at the first bowl that I did out of this piece of wood. I might have loved it at the time, I don't remember. I don't love it now. That looks much better. Now it's not going to be shiny like this once it's all dry and buffed up. This goes on shiny, but it's not going to stay that way at all. It'll have kind of a nice sheen to it. Okay, there you go. I'm going to let that set up for about 20 minutes, buff it up, and turn it around, fix the bark, and we'll start hollowing it out. See you in a bit. I fixed the missing bark over here. I've turned the piece around and have the tenon mounted up in the chuck. We're going to be turning at 660 RPM. 5/8" bowl gouge, mask, and face shield on. Guess I could go a little bit thinner on the edge. I'm going to go sharpen up this with some tough wood. Oh boy, I think that's about as thin as I better go because this edge is about ready to drop off over here. It's just about straight up and down. I'm going to go sharpen up. I think we better check where we are here. Must be getting close. Yeah, we got about 3/4 of an inch total. Go another 1/2 inch or so. I'm going by between here and the bottom of the bowl. And I was very close when I said we had 3/4 of an inch. So I think I've taken just about a 1/2 inch away. Nope, about 3/8. So I can go just a little bit more. I think that'll probably do it. Yep, 1/4 inch. Okay, let me try to put a fresh burr on my scraper and we'll scrape. I just heard another piece of bark go flying. I just can't get this upper edge right here because it's way higher than that edge is. So I'm just going to sand that, but the rest of it's good. Well, let me find all those pieces of bark, see if I can fix this. I'll be back in a little bit. Well, after a considerable amount of time, I believe I have all the bark fixed. It looks pretty good. It'll look even better with some finish on it and sanding it. This is going to push me into 3 days. I could have done this bowl in 2 days, but because all that bark missing, it took a little extra time. I told you I was going to sand the bark. I'm going to do that with my Sandoflex. This is 180 grit. When I'm done with that, I'll switch to my 2-inch disc starting at 80 grit because I got a few tool marks in there. Working up through 400 grit, I'll have the lathe spinning forward and reverse at about 380 RPM. I'll show you what that looks like as soon as I get my mask on. I'll be doing a little bit more of that, but that's generally what it looks like, and that'll smooth it out and make it feel good, but it won't really change how it looks. And then the 2-inch disc. And then reverse. Like that. So I'll bring it back in a little bit and we'll put some finish on there. I haven't decided about the bark finish yet. I'll let you know. See you in a bit. Feed and wax finish on the bark as well. The bark is nice and smooth. I'm very pleased about that. I don't know if I've conveyed how difficult this piece was. It was really pretty dang difficult. Lots of sharpening, very hard wood. It doesn't take much feed and wax at all. I'm real happy with the sanding job. It's really quite smooth. So I'm just using a toothbrush to brush this into the bark. And then the way I'll get it out of the bark is I'll blow it out with compressed air, and then I will use a clean toothbrush to buff it. See, that bark really dresses it up, doesn't it? Okay, so I'm gonna finish getting this on here. I think it's 6:30. So I'm gonna let this set for about 20 minutes, buff it up, and tomorrow we will take the tenon off. There you go. That's generally what it'll look like, but not as shiny. Remember that. It won't be that shiny. See you tomorrow. I mounted a block of wood up in my chuck. I'm going to put a non-slip cloth over that and bring up the bowl, which has an excellent finish on it. I'm so glad I went with feed and wax on this one. Bring up the tailstock. I still have the center hole there for reference. That'll help center it on that block. Bring up my tool rest. Spin the piece up, see if it's running true. It is. Turn the speed up to about 600 RPM. I'm going to grab a 3/8 inch bowl gouge and commence to removing that tenon. Now that's pretty small. I'm going to turn the speed down to about 400 RPM. And I'm going to switch to a 3/8 inch swept back bowl gouge so that I can get in there closer. Now that's really small. I'm going to turn the speed down to about 200 RPM. And I'm going to apply the bevel of the gouge against the bottom of the bowl. Right hand on the gouge, left hand on the switch, pressure towards the headstock. And when the little nub stops turning, we'll know we're through. Now I'll just take this over here to the workbench, sand that up, sign it, get it finished, and I'll be right back. I'm going to see if I can make this quick. It's freezing out here, I'm telling you, it's cold. Be sure you stick around to the end of the video so you can see the before and after shots of this piece. If you'd share the video, I'd really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Well, here it is. One African sumac live edge bowl in the books, and I'm very happy with it. I like this one so much more than the first one I did. And it's all about the finish. And I put a lot of effort into keeping that bark on there. And you see the face? You see the two eyes and the smile? You gotta imagine a little bit. The eyes are pretty far apart, but the smile sure is there. And that's not a flaw, nothing I did. That's in the wood. It's amazing to me. There is a little tiny crack there, so maybe something seeped in. I don't think there's no, there's not a matching crack on the outside. There is kind of a matching, no, the smile doesn't match either. I don't know. The crack does not go through, but it may have caused the staining around there, I don't know. But I wish you could feel this. It's so incredibly smooth. And that kind of looks like a spider. That's where the pith is. And that side, kind of the same. It's just a nice piece. It just feels good in your hands. You have that smoothness, and then you have the smooth texture of the bark. I'm not sure which is the front and which is the back. Obviously, that's the way to look at it, I guess, isn't it? Hope you liked the video. It was a lot of work to do, but fun at the same time because of the outcome. Thank you, Tuffy Martinez, for sending this along for all to enjoy. If you like this video, thumbs up, please. I'd sure appreciate it. If you're a subscriber, thank you very kindly. I truly appreciate that. If you're not a subscriber, you might consider becoming one. I put out regular videos about one a week, and I'd like to keep in touch. An easy way to subscribe is just click my picture you see there near the end of the video. Your comments are always welcome, and I love reading them. So for now, this is Phil, Shady Acres Woodshop, signing off.